I already did start it, honey.
Mom, I need to go.
Okay. Trying to turn this. Oh. Well, that's strange. I guess we'll just have straight up and down. I think this is how you're seeing it because it's stuck in portrait. Oh well. If I switch it and have you sideways, then I think that I'll end up looking sideways. So I'm just gonna stick to this for right now. All right. Tonight I am processing tons and tons of cabbage. We picked up an order of well, it's a local CSA, Community Supported Agriculture, and they also produce a lot of food that you can buy sort of as a shop, almost like an online shopping cart. That's what it is. And you can buy extra food that they've specifically grown for this purpose. They also sell to like local grocery stores and stuff like that. So I put in an order this week and we got 10 heads of cabbage, 5 purple, 5 green. I got 2 bunches of Swiss chard, which are very large, 4 bunches of kale, and then a 5-pound bag of carrots, a 5-pound bag of beets. But the other stuff can wait. Well, I should say that I did freeze up the kale, going to freeze up the chard, but we are dealing with the cabbage. So I've cleaned my counters because we kind of had a massive mess. This is 6 heads of cabbage total here. So we have run these through the food processor. And what I'm making here is pickled cabbage. And I'm using 6 of the heads for this pickled cabbage, which I hope will yield me quite a bit. I'm going to do some in pints, some in quarts. But I actually didn't have a bowl large enough to put all this cabbage. So that's why I have these 2 bowls. This has settled down enough where I could probably fit this in. But I want to stir this around a little bit more. So this is also salted. I put the cabbage in here and the salt. And if you can see the difference here, I don't know, I might pull this close. This is a lot wetter looking. I haven't really stirred it around. But this one over here has released a ton of liquid. See that right there? That purple juices, all that stuff has really started to come out of this bigger bowl. Sorry, the camera's bouncing. All right, so I have just been kind of stirring this around. I mean, this was like to the top, and I still had 2 full heads of cabbage to shred and put in here. So I just sort of have been working this around, trying to make it fit, because my goal for tonight is to be able to put it in my biggest stock pot, and I'm not sure it's going to happen. But this has to sit overnight, just the way it is, just covered in salt. And what that does, see, I haven't even completely stirred this one up. If you can believe it, this is just 2 heads of cabbage. They're massive. We have some fun little shreds in there like that. So yeah, this sits overnight soaking in the just salt and then the liquid that creates. And what that does is it firms up the cabbage and it also pulls moisture out, as you can see from the bottom of this one. So I'll show you that again. Just all of that purple, well, the liquid down there. So that's what that's doing. And then in the morning, I'm going to rinse this off. Drain it, rinse all the salt off, and try to kind of just get as much of the natural moisture out of the cabbage as possible. And then I'm going to mix in some carrots, a little bit of onion juice. I actually did a video on the pickled cabbage, so you can, if you want to see all the full details, that's what I'm doing here. And it was so good. It was super delicious. So I thought, I'm going to make a bunch this fall. And so here I am making a bunch. So this is has a lot more structure still than this stuff. This is a lot more wilted. And so once I work through these, I'm going to get into my last 4 heads of cabbage. And I have 2 purple, 2 green left. And we're going to do sauerkraut. I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep them separate. When I pickled the cabbage this spring as sort of like an experiment on the recipe, I mixed everything together, which I really liked. And I think that that's totally fine. But I was thinking it'd be kind of fun to keep the cabbages separate for the sauerkraut. So the cabbage, once I get it all blended up, pretty much similar to this, where the juices are coming out and it kind of makes its own brine, we'll get that put in half-gallon jars. and just gonna let it sit 3 to 6 weeks. And I'm actually going to can it this year. I've never put my sauerkraut in through the canner. I usually just keep it fresh in the fridge to preserve all of the bacteria and whatnot that develops and is supposed to be good for your gut health and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to process it this year. I mean, we'll probably still keep some in the fridge, but all right. So for now, because I need this big bowl, we're just going to combine them. I'm just going to let this sit some more. When I look at my kettle, I know this is not going to fit in. So I'll probably have to put it in 2 different containers. And it's actually getting so cool at night here where we live that I'm probably going to be able to keep this in our back porch. All right, so I'm going to use this bowl, and we're going to work with the purple cabbage first, just because it is, well, I guess it wouldn't really matter. But there's a little purple in there. So we are going to work with our food processor again, because this is such a slick way. I have my 2mm blade on. I have a 4mm one as well, but I like that it makes it a little thinner. All right, we got the last 2 heads here, and these cabbages are absolutely beautiful. They are huge. The purple ones are actually, size-wise, a lot smaller than the green, but they're more dense. And so this is the size difference. I mean, that's substantial, but they're only about a pound difference because these are so much more dense than these ones. And it's this really great farm. We actually got a winter CSA from them probably like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer. It's been a while. But they're an organic farm and they do really good stuff. Just kind of cutting off some bits that look a little cracked on top maybe. This is normally the part that gets completely cut out of a lot of my videos, is the boring and loud stuff. And if you happen to see my live where I was trying to work with the lamb, I've still been using this knife, and that has been really nice. It is a little bit difficult, well, it's a little different to work with because I really like coming through and chopping things from the top. But because it's so much sharper than the other one was, it's a better choice. All right, that'll give us a good start. It's going to get a little loud. Hopefully it's not too crazy. Truly, this is a part of like the food preservation process that just takes a long time. I mean, I've been in my kitchen for a while now, and I've only worked through 6 of the heads. I mean, in washing your produce, washing it, chopping it, all of that. And when you have a large amount of stuff to work through, it's interesting how you find where your bottleneck points are in your kitchen. And right now, this little hopper hole is definitely the restrictor. I bet they make larger diameters of these. So not even a half a head, and this thing is full to the brim. My hands are quite purple. The first time I ever made homemade sauerkraut, I actually did it with my grandparents, and they have this old cabbage shredder that you really use when you're with multiple people. So one person would have to hold it while the other person ran this box that would hold basically easily a quarter of a cabbage, if not a whole half of a head, into this box. And just shredded it on this 3-blade shredder. One second here. I don't even think this phone is registering my. Oh, there we go. I disconnected for a second, but I hope it's all right. Could have filled that one a little bit more. Sometimes if I fill it too full before I empty it, it starts to make some weird noises. I have made sauerkraut by chopping it by hand before, which really is just fine. You can pretty easily do like a fine shred like this. I prefer the machine now, and especially that I have that thinner blade. If I had just the 4mm blade, I feel like that's a little too thick for how we like our sauerkraut, and I might do it by hand. But because I have this thinner one, I do it this way. And what's also nice is that if you have any sort of big pieces that come off the top of the cabbage, or all this mess that just ends up being littered all over your counter, it's pretty easy to throw that in, just right in the hopper, and any big pieces get smaller. All right, one more purple head here. Ooh, found a couple worms. They look like earthworms though, just teeny little earthworms along the bottom. I got a big order of pears in today. I put an order in through our co-op because they went on sale. I called a week or two ago to put an order in to can, and he said, well, the domestic pear season has just started, so the price is still kind of high, but they expected it to go down, and it's already down. So it's 30% lower than it was, and it was already, the order already came in today. So I have those out, starting to ripen because they are very, very firm pears. It has been a very long time since I have canned pears too. I've only done it one other time. So much cabbage here, I actually considered pulling out my big fermenting crock to do some of this sauerkraut in. Who knows, maybe I will have to do that. but I've talked a bit about how I like to use half-gallon jars because they're clear, so I can kind of keep a visual eye on them on and off throughout the day, and then just ongoing as they ferment, which I think is beneficial. I just realized I did not weigh my cabbage before I shredded it, although I could weigh it after. The amount of salt that you end up adding is dictated by how many pounds of cabbage you're working with. I'm going to probably just guess because I know about how heavy the other heads were. They were, well, a little over 5 pounds each, and they all were about the same size. So we will say it's about 10 pounds. 10 pounds of cabbage. And we also picked up some sea salt. I have been using just the same salt for so many years, and I use it for all my canning. It's salt that comes from a salt mine in Utah, and it's an underground mine, but it's basically like the pink Himalayan salt of the United States. And so but it's very protected from pollution because it comes from a mine, and it's got all like the mineral deposits and all that in it. But I was thinking, I don't know, I feel it going just like a clear sea salt. Well, pure white, I should say. Pure white sea salt. Just noticing there's hardly any depth to the cores on these purple heads compared to the green. All right, we're gonna almost done here. We'll call that good. So I had my book out earlier, but I'm just going to double check my, wow, against this book, my hands really shows the purple. So I'm just going to double check. So for 25 pounds, it's, okay. So every 5 pounds, it's 3 tablespoons of salt. And that is the same whether it's, whether it's purple or green or whatever. It doesn't matter. Does not matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit more in. I've only ever made purple cabbage one other time, and it did not. I'll do a better clean job in a little bit once I get all the green all over the counter as well. I've only ever made this one other time, and it just did not turn out. And the reason it didn't is because it was earlier on in the time when I was like fermenting things, and I was using my fermenting crock, and it's a big crock from like Poland, so you cannot see through it. I think it holds 2 to 3 gallons, but I just thought you were supposed to get it going and let it sit, and it would just do its thing. And I don't ferment things like that anymore because I get in there every single day, and you'll see. Try to think of the videos that I've done on fermenting things, but I say it every time I get my hands in there. I move things around. I know I did it with my pickles. I mention that because it's easy for stuff to get out of control. So just a little daily check-in is all that's needed. And after the first few days, after a lot of like the bubbles and things release and aren't bubbling over anymore, you don't really need to do that. Although I have found it helpful that if, partway through the fermenting, maybe a week or two before they're done, I'll transfer it to a new jar in its entirety from top to bottom. So whatever was on top, I'll literally just put in the next jar because it seems like the things on top ferment a little quicker. At least that's my experience. Okay, I feel like the salt is pretty well incorporated. And I'm trying to think of what... I kind of want to let it sit before I stuff it in the jars. And part of that's because I think it's going to reduce in size, like everything seems to. So for now, I'm going to put it in this kettle. You know what? No, I'll change my mind. Because this kettle's clean and free from all this purple color, I'm going to wait. I know there's going to be a little bit of purple in. I'm going to try to clean up here. I'm just going to rinse this off really quick, just so we can keep our green sauerkraut as clean as possible, as green as possible. And it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a few pieces that get through. It's amazing how blue the color comes off of this cabbage. I feel like I've seen where you can like color Easter eggs or something like that. Cabbage. To get that color. All right. Put it back on. I'm just going to flip over my board. We'll do it again. So it's going to be a lot of the same thing. If you want to hang around and watch more, that's fine. I'll just do the rest of my cabbage here. These are so big. I have this huge pile that I'm going to feed to the chickens. I feel like this goes way further in. Just a second here. I'm going to check on the chat. I don't think it's registering my hand. Oh, hold on a second. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. let's see. I think I'm going to try to rearrange some containers to do this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to keep going. Just keep going with this. So pickled cabbage coming up that I'm going to be canning, which I'm super excited about. Everybody in our house loves it. And when I did my video in the spring, I talked about how I was intentionally trying to test the recipe because I didn't want to have to go through all of the hassle of planting and growing and harvesting cabbage if we didn't like, and we didn't like it. If I had planned to do that with that cabbage, or if I were to buy it from a farmer, which is what I did in this case. But I'm glad I did because we liked it. And it's pretty customizable. There's lots of really good pickled cabbage recipes out there. I'm sort of sticking with the one in the ball book, but I'm also taking some inspiration from some of the other things that I've seen done. I'm trying to think of what else there is. I think that's pretty much it, unless there's something else in the chat or anything like that. The one other thing was there's a Azure order coming on Sunday, and I was thinking that I would do a live for that, and that'll be coming in the afternoon, so like late afternoon, something like that. We'll try to get on and do that live instead of as a video, sort of prepackaged. All right, we'll see you soon.